Welcome back to Edulexis. Today is day 72, and we are diving deep into one of the most powerful aspects of Flask: routing and templates. If you've been following along, you know that Flask is a micro-framework, perfect for building robust web applications quickly. Before we get into the complex stuff, let's briefly recap what we've covered. We've set up our environments, created our first Hello World app, and understood how the WSGI server works. Today, we bridge the gap between simple static responses and dynamic, user-interactive web pages. We will explore how to map URLs to specific functions and how to inject dynamic data into HTML files using Jinja 2 templates. By the end of this session, you'll be able to create a multi-page web application. Let's get started. Let's begin with routing. What is a route? Simply put, a route is a URL pattern that, when accessed by a user in their browser, triggers a specific Python function in your application. In Flask, we use the @route decorator to define these mappings. Think of it as a switchboard. When you type a yourdomain.com/about, the Flask router looks for a function decorated with about. If it finds one, it executes the code inside that function and returns the result. This mapping is fundamental to web development. It allows us to structure our website logically, like organizing books in a library, so that each URL has a clear, predictable purpose. Let's see how this works in a code editor. Routes aren't just for static pages. Often, you need to handle dynamic URLs, for example, looking up a specific user profile or a product ID. Flask handles this beautifully. Using variable rules, you can define a route like user. The angle brackets tell Flask to treat that part of the URL as a variable. This variable is then passed directly as an argument to your Python function. This is incredibly powerful. Imagine creating a blog where each post has a unique ID. You don't need 100 different functions. You just need one function that reads the ID from the URL and fetches the corresponding post from your database. We'll write a simple function today that greets a user by name using this exact technique. Now, what if you need to ensure the variable in your URL is a specific type, like an integer? Flask provides a converters. For this, you can define a route as a post. If a user tries to access post ABC, Flask will automatically return a 404 not found error because ABC isn't an integer. Other useful converters include a float, path, and a UUID. This is a form of input validation at the routing layer, which saves you from writing manual checks inside your function. It keeps your code cleaner and more secure. We'll demonstrate this by creating a route that only accepts numeric IDs, ensuring our backend logic receives exactly the data type it expects. While returning strings from functions is fine for testing, real websites need HTML. This is where templates come in. Flask uses a templating engine called Jinja 2. Instead of writing HTML strings inside your Python code, which would be a maintenance nightmare, you create separate .html files in a folder named templates. Jinja 2 allows you to embed Python-like expressions directly into your HTML. You can use loops, conditionals, and variables to make your pages dynamic. For instance, you can render a list of products from a Python list into an HTML table automatically. It's like a form letter where you fill in the blanks, but on a massive, dynamic scale. How do we connect our Python function to an HTML file? We use the render_template function from the Flask module. When you call the render_template index.html, Flask automatically looks in your templates a directory for that file, processes it, and returns the resulting HTML to the browser. But wait, how do we pass data to the template? It's simple. You pass keyword arguments to the function render_template profile.html username equals Edulexis user. Inside your profile.html, you can then access that variable using double curly braces, username. This syntax is the heart of Jinja 2, and it makes passing data between your back-end and front-end incredibly intuitive and efficient. Let's look closer at the Jinja 2 syntax. We use double curly braces for printing variables or evaluating expressions. You can do math, access object attributes, or call methods directly within those braces. For example, user.name.upper will display the user's name in all capital letters. It's important to understand that Jinja 2 filters can also be applied. A filter is a special function used to modify the output. You might use post_date, format_date to change the format of a date object. These features make Jinja 2 a versatile tool for ensuring your data is presented exactly how you want it without cluttering your Python logic with formatting code. Besides variables, Jinja 2 allows for control flow. This means you can use for loops and if statements inside your HTML. Imagine you have a list of blog posts. In Python, you pass this list to the template. Inside your HTML, you use % for post in posts % to iterate through the list and %n for % to close the loop. Inside the loop, you can display each post's title and content. Similarly, you can use % if user.is_logged_in% to show a logout button and an %else % to show a login button. These control structures turn static HTML into a truly dynamic, intelligent user interface that changes based on data. The most important concept in templating is to template inheritance. You don't want to copy and paste your header, navigation bar, and footer into every single page. That is redundant and hard to maintain. Instead, you create a base.html template that contains the common layout. You define a blocks within that file, like %block content %, end block %. Then, in your other templates like home.html or about.html, you extend the base template and simply fill in the specific block. This way, if you need to change your navigation bar, you only change it in one place, base.html, and every page on your site updates automatically. This is a game changer for project organization. Now, let's get practical. I want you to open your editor. We are going to build a simple structure. First, create a folder named Templates. Inside, create a base.html or an index.html. In base.html, add your HTML boilerplate and a nav menu. Add a placeholder for the content block. Then, in index.html, start with %extends base.html% and then define the content block. This structure is the industry standard for Flask apps. Don't worry if it feels like a lot of boilerplate at first. It becomes second nature very quickly. Once you have this hierarchy set up, you have the foundation of a scalable web application that can grow from one page to 1,000. Now let's inject some life into this. In your Python file, define a route that returns a list of dictionaries where each dictionary is a fake blog post. Then, in the function, pass this list to the render_template call. Back in your index.html, write the Jinja 2 loop we discussed. Iterate over the posts and create a list or a series of cards in HTML. When you run your server and refresh the browser, you should see your list of posts rendered perfectly. This is the moment when everything clicks when you see how your backend data flows seamlessly into your front-end display. If you see any errors, double-check your tag names and indentations. Jinja 2 is very sensitive. As your application grows, your routing can get messy. Best practices are essential. Always use descriptive, consistent URL patterns. If you have an API, group your routes logically. Use trailing slashes consistently, as Flask will. Redirect to the version with a slash if it's defined. Avoid hard-coding URLs in your templates. Instead, use a URL_for. This function generates the URL for a given function name. For example, URL_for show_user_profile. Username equals Edulexis will generate the correct URL path for that route. This way, if you ever change your URL structure in your Python code, your templates don't break. It's a small detail that saves hours of debugging later on. What happens when a user types in a URL that doesn't exist? Flask provides a default 404 page, but for a professional site, you want a custom one. You can use the @app error handler 404 decorator to define a function that handles 404 errors. Inside this function, you can return your custom for.html template. This is a great way to keep your site user-friendly even when things go wrong. You can do the same for 500 server errors or any other HTTP status code. It's all about creating a polished, cohesive experience for your users. We will implement a custom 404 page today to show you just how easy it is to customize these responses. As we work with routes and templates, debugging is inevitable. Always ensure a debug equals true is set when you run your application during development. This enables the interactive debugger and auto-reloading. If your template has a syntax error, Flask will show you exactly which line in the Jinja 2 file is the culprit. Another tip, use the browser's developer tools that inspect feature to check the HTML structure that Flask is sending to the browser. Sometimes the issue isn't with your Flask code, but with how the HTML is being rendered. Mastering these tools is what separates a beginner from a productive developer. Always keep your terminal open and watch the logs. We've covered a lot today. We went from understanding basic routing and variable parameters to using advanced template inheritance and error handling. You now have the skills to build the skeleton of any web application. The key to mastering this is practice. Don't just watch the video. Open your editor and type out the code. Try creating a new route, add a new template, experiment with loops and logic. In Jinja 2, the more you break things, the faster you'll learn how to fix them. Tomorrow, we move on to handling user input with forms and processing data. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next lesson.
Thank you for watching. Like if you learned something, share with your circle, and subscribe for more.